Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the 5,467th meeting of the Rotary Club of San Jose. Today you were greeted by the, greeting line today, Interact and Ryla. Dave Peterson, where are you? Yay, Dave. Did you have a committee here today? Can you stand up? We'll give you some love. You guys, Ryla, Rotaract, they do a big heavy lift. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to go to guest introductions. If you are a visiting Rotarian or a Rotarian with guests, go ahead and stand up so we can find you. And today on the microphones, we have the Aaron Show. We've got Aaron Delacroix and Aaron O'Neill. Can you please introduce yourselves and let us know a bit more about you?
Hi, my name is Aaron Delacroix, and my sponsor is Blake Ward. I am with the agency real estate brokerage in Los Gatos. So if you need a home, let me know. If you want to sell a home, let me know. If you're looking to invest, let me know.
We're getting into ring the bell territory there. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, Aaron 2.
Good morning. I'm Erin O'Neill, the new superintendent of Metro Ed in San Jose.
Well, welcome. So great to have you. Okay. All right, and how this works is I think this might be your first time on Red Badges. Find your way to the standing Rotarians who can introduce their guests.
All right, I'm first.
Yay!
Good afternoon, President Heather. I have the distinguished honor to welcome my colleague from the San Jose City Attorney's Office, Brian Kimball. He represents San Jose Clean Energy.
Wonderful to see you, Brian. Thanks for coming to our room today. Hi, Sarah.
Good afternoon, President Heather. Nice to see you.
You too.
I am very pleased today to introduce Rushton Hurley. He is an educator, and he also is the charter founding member of the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley.
Oh, great to have you here.
Did anybody know there are E-Clubs? Oh, by the way.
I knew. I don't know if the rest of them were. Of course, I have to go to trainings that tell me these things. Welcome. We're really glad you're here. Thanks for getting in person to meeting. Hi, Carl.
Hey, President Heather.
Hello.
You need training? I didn't think that. Hey, this is Daniel Christensen, a neighbor and also a fellow shortlister for District 3.
Fantastic. How welcome. Welcome, welcome. We'll be hearing a little bit more about District 3 here in this room in maybe about a week or so. All right, who we got next there? Hi, Dagmar.
Hi, President Heather. It's my pleasure to introduce Lisa and my guest today, Julie Smith. She's a retired veterinarian and the founder of Sage Compassion for Animals, a nonprofit that provides financial assistance for medical crisis for pets.
How lovely. Great to have you in the room. You'd be a great fit for the PAWS committee. Alan, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, President Heather. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Great. I'm here to introduce Bunny's guest, Sashina Agarwal from Apple Computers, he's a senior manager in the AI and machine language space.
So great to see you. And hi, Bunny. I feel you're online someplace on a boat in the ocean somewhere. So hi, Bunny. Glad you're here. Thanks for bringing a guest.
Hello, President Heather.
Hello,
Dave Peterson here. I would like to introduce my amazing and wonderful and super daughter, Mary, who is the executive meeting manager at Hayes Mansion. So some of you may have crossed her paths already.
Fantastic. Great to have you here. Nice to have some people from the hotel industry. You should come more often. All right.
Hi, President Heather.
Hi, Jean.
Serpa. I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Milan Valentin, the Executive Director of the African American Community Services Agency.
Fantastic. Really glad to have you in the room. We've been talking about you. Maybe your ears were ringing. We were just talking about you getting you in the room. Thanks, Jean. All right. Are we clear on guests? I think we're clear. All right. Fantastic. I'd like to welcome to the stage our past district governor, Richard Flanders, here to give us a little bit of information about an upcoming fantastic dinner we have. Richard, welcome back to the room in Rotary San Jose.
It's nice to be back here. It was a couple of years ago since I was here, but I'm here to promote an event, kind of like a district-wide event. Our district used to have a world president for Rotary International by the name of Richard King. He passed away last year, or in 2023, And some of you may know him, but some of you who don't know him, he was probably one of the best speakers in Rotary. And when he was world president, he raised a lot of new members in our organization, and he raised a lot of money for the Rotary Foundation. So after he served as president of Rotary, they established a fund in his name by the name of Richard D. King Endowed Fund for Rotary Peace Centers. So the idea is once you get to $1 million, it would fund a Rotary Peace Fellow to study in one of the 7 Rotary universities all over the world in the subject of peace and conflict prevention. So he passed away. We're going to have a dinner in his honor on February 2nd at Black Hawk Museum in Danville. Some of you may not have been there, but it's a museum of classic cars, and they have added Chinese exhibits. They have Western civilization in the museum, and it's a great venue for a Rotary event. On top of that, we're going to have 3 Rotary International presidents. One of them is the current sitting Rotary International president by the name of Stephanie Urchik. So it's rare for a district or a club to have a sitting Rotary International president to come to your event. So we want to invite you to the dinner, and there's a video here that I need to play. Go back. The next slide.
May I have a little bit of help? I don't see a video embedded here.
On the 3rd slide of the PowerPoint.
Looks like we just have one slide there. I'm seeing just a still
Anyway,
here.
I know time is limited. So anyway, I hope everybody can come. There's flyers on your table if you want to register to come. Thank you. Heather.
Great to have a past district governor here. Thank you so much. Check that one out. I mentioned last week this event. There's a companion event in Turkey, so this one's easier to get to. So $150 is nothing. No passport required. All right. Mike Mack, are you here? It is time to get your blue badge. Are you here? Are you here? I heard you were here in the room. Come on up. Come on up. Yeah. For those who may not know, the Red Badge year is about 1 year in duration, and we ask that you do a few special things during that time, attend some 7:30 a.m. meetings that really aren't as god-awful as it sounds, and then also work the barbecue, and come just say, I just give you a little bit of time just to say hi and tell me what you've loved about being Red Badge.
Hi, I'm going to thank John Ball for actually bringing me into Rotary. Unfortunately, I haven't had much time to do as much as I'd like.
We'll fix that.
Well, this year will be a lot better. I have a lot more time this year. So I have some projects that I definitely would love to get Rotary involved in. So some of the things that I've done is I do a lot of things for the Chinese community, especially in San Francisco and in Chinatown, Stockton. So we've created events that's helped revitalize the community. So I've talked to John Ball about potentially doing a large car show in downtown San Jose to help revitalize downtown San Jose. So I think this year, we're going to have some great projects that I'm looking forward to getting Rotary involved with.
Sounds great. Well, let's
Okay.
get your blue badge. Welcome. All right. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to those projects, and you're going to love next week. We've got some special stuff going on for next week. All right. The environmental and environmental. You guys changed your name from Climate Action, which was really easy for me to say, but this is even better. Come on up, Megan. Megan Fluke. Is Sean here too? Oh, she snuck up on me. Sean Girth too. Co-chairs.
We are co-chairs because I refuse to do this alone. So I'm Megan Fluke. I'm a proud member of the ROD Squad. First, I want to thank our last committee chair, Mark McKenna. He did such a fantastic job over the past couple of years. We used to be the Climate Action Committee. Now we're in the Environmental Sustainability Committee. Our goal is for Rotary San Jose to become carbon neutral and to be recognized as a climate-friendly club. As Carl Salas put it last week, because climate change is a real bummer. This isn't just a local initiative happening here. It's a part of a global movement within Rotary. In 2020, Rotary International made a unanimous decision to recognize environmental sustainability as an official area of club focus, demonstrating Rotary's commitment to addressing one of the most pressing challenges of our time. I want to introduce you to one of Rotary's most powerful tools called SRAG. It's the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Network. Think of this as our environmental action powerhouse, providing expertise, resources, and best practices for impactful projects. There are 2,500 members globally, including 500 right here in Western North America. We used to have the #1 spot, now we're only #2. So let this be your call to your competitive spirit to join. It's just $30, and it enables us to transform individual environmental concern here at Rotary into collective Rotary action. Sean.
Okay, so we want to assure you that we are not coming for the lunch menu and that you will not be eating vegan food every lunch every week from now on. I heard, we've heard that. And we do want to say that we are really enthusiastic and excited about moving our club in a carbon neutral direction. We have talked a lot at this club about we are the largest club. We do have such a large impact in so many ways. And so changes that we can make here to be more climate friendly and more sustainable are things that we can be proud of and that we can introduce other clubs to. This is not the Megan and Sean show, and so we have sort of broken this work into 2 phases. One is sort of, thank you so much, the understanding phase, and we will be reaching out to committee chairs to understand the great work that is already happening in different committees. For example, the changes that have happened here around lunch and how it is plated and presented are a very big impact from what has happened before. And we want to start with what are other committees doing so that we can share and spotlight that success. And then we're going to work on developing a plan for 1 to 2 big projects that can be actionable and that we can achieve and celebrate the success of with the club. So we invite folks to join the committee. You can see the information up here about how to join us, and please be on the lookout from outreach for Megan and I talking to the different committee chairs. Thank you so much.
Oh, and before we finish, there's a book. We have a new library, The 7 Steps for a Climate-Friendly Rotary Club. There are 12 copies out there with a sticker on the first page reminding you to return it after a few weeks. But feel free to grab one and learn more about what other clubs are doing to make their club climate-friendly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, President's time. Just a few brief announcements. We announced that we have these incredible community grants that we give out every year, and because of the work of the gala tickets go on sale on Friday, don't want me to tell you that, and these are our fantastic sponsors over there. Because of the gala, we were able to distribute over $200,000 in local community grants. And so I just wanted to always hit the purpose of this club: camaraderie, friendship, global exchange, world peace, all the things, climate action, and local giving. So I just wanted you to take a look at this slide here of the amount that we get requested is $340,000. We could do even more. The needs are out there, but I also want to give everyone a huge, huge thank you for getting to $200,000. That was a new number for us. I'm really proud of this club for doing that. Yeah. I won't read these names off because it's a lot, but you can see how many groups that we support here. Some are groups that you're personally involved with. You serve on their boards, you volunteer for them, you champion them, and some might be brand new to you. So if they're brand new to you, be proud that your collective action here in the room is supporting all of these organizations that are based here in San Jose. And as a reminder, the recipients and who they serve, 50% of their base that they serve need to reside in San Jose. So these dollars really are local. Oh, we got some nice press too. That was really nice. I love hard copy press. It's really nice. Thank you so much for getting the press out there. Really nice little shout out to our Rotary to let people know what Rotary in San Jose is actually doing. All right, we have there's a Rotary Poet of the Year Awards, and this is a larger It's not just local here, it's much larger than that. So if you are a poet and you didn't know it, or maybe you do know it, please, I know I already have one person out there who's going to be entering this contest. I would love to see our San Jose Club receive this award. So if you've been dabbling around in poetry, now is your time to debut your work. This is a place to do it. So check it out. I'll leave that QR code up there for just another second or so. Entering the poetry contest. Alrighty. And then International Women's Day is coming up. This is once again, I'm talking a lot about a lot of district things today. It must be District Day. And so this is something that we had to skip last year, but we're doing it again this year. And this is going to be taking place in Fremont this year. And we got obviously the great group of speakers up there. Check that out to celebrate International Women's Day. All right, I am pleased to say that we get to start early with our speaker, and I want to invite up the first gentleman, Jay Alexander, to do our introduction of our guest speaker.
Huh?
Make it disappear.
And sleep.
There you go.
Hello. Our speaker has been a friend of mine for many years, and he's co-founder of 4 different companies, one of them being an app that named Siri, which then Apple bought. He was a founding member of Change.org, and he's now VP of AI Experiences at Airbnb. Please welcome to the stage, Adam Cheyer.
Should have asked how to advance the slides. I guess there's a button. Like this? I can do it. All right. Thank you for having me. My name's Adam Cheyer. As Jay mentioned, I've been in technology for a long time, been dabbling in AI companies. I did the first large-scale voice assistant. Many came after. After Siri, there was Cortana, Alexa, Google Now. I did the first large-scale machine learning company called Sentient, the first with more than 1 million CPUs and GPUs back in 2008 as deep learning was just taking off. I've done a secret stealth company called Game Planner AI, which now just recently sold to Airbnb. And I also care a lot about people, and you'll see that in the talk, trying to get us to work together to solve big problems, and I think that's part of what Rotary is about. So today I'm going to talk about how we got here in terms of artificial intelligence, where we are, and what we need to do to save the world. So here's an observation, being in tech for so long. I realized that I call it the 10+ theory. Every 10+ years, a new paradigm emerges that changes everything. So I'm going to start counting in 1984. That was when a PC landed on everyone's desk. We had to learn how to use this mouse I'm still figuring out, graphical interfaces. 10+1 years later, we arrived at the web, and now it was all about clicking on hyperlinks and back buttons and bookmarks. 10+2 years later, the smartphone emerged, and corollary, the App Store the next year. So I've been saying for more than a decade that in 10+3 years after 2008, when the App Store emerged, a new paradigm of interaction would occur, and it would be the AI assistant. And as you'll see, pretty much right on schedule, here we are. But let me tell you a little bit how we got here. It's my story, so I get to start where I was. I'm going to start in February 2010. On this date, a little app named Siri launched. It's a free app you could download from the App Store. You could use, for the first time, voice and language to do all sorts of things. You could call a taxi with your voice. Get me a taxi to my restaurant. Uber didn't exist yet. You could book a restaurant. You could buy tickets to the game, and so much more. So we launched this app. We were a tiny startup. In fact, just a few blocks away here in San Jose, right around First Street. And we were very excited and proud, and people started to download it, and tweets would go up. My favorite one was, wow, Siri is like someone came from the future and said, here, you've got to try this app. And I'm like, yes, that's what we were going for. And one of those people was named Steve. I know this because 2 weeks after we launched the app, we get a phone call. Hey, it's Steve. What you doing? Want to come over to my house tomorrow? And we're like, Steve Jobs? How did you get this number? Now, Siri, if you don't know, means secret in Swahili. And I'm a big fan of secrets. I always start my companies in stealth mode. Magic, like Jay, plenty of secrets in that domain. So we had no website, no phone number, no address, and yet Steve Jobs was calling us. We went over to his house the next day, spoke for 3 hours about the future of technology, and he said, I want to buy your company. We said, thank you, we're flattered, not interested, goodbye, and we left. But then he called us 30 days in a row. He was a persistent man, and in the end managed to convince us we could change the world more with Apple than being an independent 20-person startup. So why was this important? Well, Steve Jobs, shortly after the acquisition, went on stage with Walt Mossberg at All Things Digital. And Walt said, Steve, why did you buy Siri, that search company? And he said, they're not a search company. They're an AI company. And no one knew what he meant. Because for the last 20 years, the words artificial intelligence weren't really used in public. In the 80s, it was a really big thing with expert systems. But for 20 years, no one was talking about artificial intelligence. And he's known for seeing the future. He reinvented. He didn't invent, but he brought it to the masses, the personal computer. He saw computers being used for movies and got involved in Pixar. He transformed music with iTunes, mobile. And now you could claim that Steve saw the coming wave of artificial intelligence before anyone else. And just like that, like a drip, drip, drip of a dam about to burst, you started to see it in the news. So January 2011, IBM came out with a program called Watson, and it was a program, a computer software that competed against the world's best players of Jeopardy. Now, Jeopardy is not only language-based, it's all about our culture and knowledge. And when I saw Watson come back and say, who is Batman and Robin Hood? I was stunned, because I knew this wasn't just an information retrieval. It wasn't just returning it from a database somewhere. It had synthesized a new answer, Batman and Robin Hood together. I'm like, I didn't think computers could do that. Blew my mind. Never thought I would see that in my lifetime. Later that year, Apple version of Siri launched on October 4th, 2011. This is what the advertisements look like. And the next 6 months were the greatest at the time in technology history. In terms of profit and margin, Apple set every record. Their stock price nearly doubled, and Apple passed Exxon to become the #1 most valuable company in the history of the world, just selling the iPhone 4S, which literally was the iPhone 4, slightly better camera, plus Siri. So AI was now starting to impact bottom lines, not only the press. Shortly thereafter, 2013, Google, aren't they a search engine? Actually bought 8 robots. 2015, I'll tell you a personal story. I borrowed my wife's car. I'm driving along with my son next to me. He was a teenager, so he was bored, as teenagers are. And I said, hey, Noah, want to see the greatest technology advance since the creation of Siri? And he said, you know what he said, yeah, Dad, whatever. And we're driving in the car on the highway, coming up to a curve, and I just lifted my hands off the wheel. And the car drove seamlessly around the curve by itself. He's like, Dad, that's insane. And I'm like, yeah. And you know what's even crazier? The car did not do that the day before. This was literally an over-the-air update that gave this car self-driving properties. Never thought I would see that in my lifetime. Things are accelerating. 2017 for me was the year of AI applied to healthcare. So paper after paper started coming out showing that doctors plus AI were able to outperform AI in general. So in MIT, the computer science laboratory, working with Mass General Hospital, were able to show that AI plus a doctor looking at radiograms could identify malignant or benign tumors in breast cancer at 30% greater accuracy than had previously done before. Now that saves money, lives, stress, right? Don't need an operation if it's benign. And so this was really, and paper after paper started to come out showing that AI could be a tool to augment, to help doctors perform better. There also were papers about being able to predict breast cancer 5 years in advance using AI at that time. And then June 2020, this was a quiet, mostly research kind of effort from a small nonprofit called OpenAI. They launched something called GPT-3. Most people didn't know it. And what is it? It was basically a super word predictor on steroids. So what is a word predictor? You've seen it on probably your phones. If you start to type something, it'll try to guess the next word that you might want to type. Well, GPT, if you type something like John hit the, what's the next word? Any guesses? Ball? Yeah, so you get, there's going to be a series of probabilities just based on text, right? Penguin's probably on the list. It's way down, right? So largely, GPT is, and all of this new generation of AI is just super word predictors. It's all based on probabilities. Given a phrase, it can predict the next word and then the next word. One thing I just want to highlight about this technology, we're going to get into it a bit more, is that there's a parameter called temperature. Researchers found that if you turn it up to 1, all the way up to the max value, it just chooses the top word every time. But you get these kind of boring, very non-interesting and useful texts. But if you add a temperature, meaning a parameter that says every once in a while, don't pick the top word, pick a random word a little bit further down, all of a sudden the text gets much better. Now, it's important to know this because when you start to interact with the AIs of today, you have to realize it is not about truth-telling. It is not about accuracy. Every once in a while, intentionally, it's choosing a lower probability word. So you say 2 + 2 equals, most of the time you'll get 4. But sometimes, maybe someone wrote on the internet, more than the sum of its parts, 2 + 2 = 5. Maybe 5 comes out, maybe 3.9, right? So this was the foundations of everything that we see today in AI. And why was it useful? Well, it turns out that language, text, is the basis of a lot of what we do. And for the first time, if you look at all the other AI applications, they're very narrow. The program that could play Jeopardy is not able to drive your car, is not able to do anything else, right? The very specific problem solved. For the first time, a huge, vast array of problem areas could be solved just by generating text. You type in a question, it'll generate an answer. in all sorts of areas. Summarization, you say, what is flower in French? And it'll predict the next word, fleur. Oh, now you're using it for translation. And so many different applications. The AI started to also be used for images, not just text. And it's starting to get kind of creative. Now you're like, oh, computers can't be creative, it's just probabilities. Well, I'm going to give you a challenge. I ask you to imagine in your mind right now a bowl of soup that looks like a monster knitted out of wool. You got it? Kind of? This is what comes out of this DALL-E 2. I think this is genius. This is creative. A bowl of soup that looks like a monster knitted out of wool. I could not have done better, right? So these systems are able to generate text and images. And then December 2022, almost when I predicted, in fact, if you split GPT-3, the first version, and then the one people noticed 2 years later, my 2021 prediction was right on the mark. Out came ChatGPT, and it was the fastest adopted technology in history by orders of magnitude. It achieved a million users in 5 days, 100 million users in 2 months, and when you look at anything else, and this is a logarithmic curve, it's like a straight line. Like everyone started to use this, mass adoption. So that was GPT-3 and 3.5. In March 2023, GPT-4 emerged. Now these are a demonstration that 4 was much smarter than 3.5. They started giving it actual human tests. So like AP Calculus, Advanced Placement Calculus, when you're going into university, these scores, so it's on a 5-point scale, GPT 3.5 was able to get a 1, GPT 4, a 4, right? Almost perfect score. Macroeconomics, perfect score. SAT math, when these numbers are in percentages, like 89%, that means the computer was able to get a higher score on an SAT math than 89% of human respondents, students. GRE verbal, did better than I did on my GREs. This is very embarrassing. LSAT, so getting into legal, the bar exam, it beat 90% of students taking the bar exam. And my favorite use case, sommelier. Whenever I go to a restaurant, I use AI for this. And finally, in 2013, shortly after Siri had started this trend.
Okay. What about them? Describe that couple over there.
Okay, well, he looks like he's in his 40s, a little heavy. She's younger than him. Oh, and she looks like she loves their kid.
The woman's voice was an AI. Now this is a real system that's shipped, that's out now. It was demonstrated May 20th.
The ducks are gently gliding across the water. They're moving in a fairly relaxed manner, not in a hurry. Occasionally, one of them will dip its head under the water, probably looking for food, and then pop back up.
Science fiction to craziness, 10 years. It's amazing. So where is this leading? People ask, will AI replace my jobs? Well, my answer is AI won't replace your job, but someone using AI will replace jobs of those who are not using AI. So AI is going to transform every area. In fact, there was a study, I'm not going to go through all the details, but this was done by Boston Consulting Group on a large scale, 800 participants almost. They showed that on a wide variety of actual work tasks, human plus AI significantly outperformed users without doing AI. They had higher quality, produced more results in faster time. And the other thing was there was almost no difference. You didn't have to be trained in how to use AI. Untrained had the same scores as trained compared to people not using AI. So it's pretty approachable. You can start using this today. So where should we best apply AI? Here are some different areas that I think will be transformed. Education is going to change. You now have a system of software that you can talk to it in English or any language about pretty much every single subject. You can't even do that with a human. Humans are specialists. This knows everything. Consensus building, it can be used to bring opinions and dialogues together. It can generate questions to get us on the same page. Coding, AI can code today. Incredible. Mark Zuckerberg says that by the end of this year, they may be able to have autonomous coding assistants doing substantial tasks. Marketing, communications, health and science, we've already talked about medical is going to be a big one. And heading into conclusion, so where is this going to lead this? I've worked with many inspiring people, Steve Jobs, Ryan Chesky. Doug Engelbart is the most inspiring person I've ever worked with. He was the one who invented everything that we use today, the mouse, graphical interfaces, everything we know of the PC, everything we know of the web, email, multiple windows. And he said, prognosticating that someday we are going to be faced with complex, urgent problems, and that people have to get more effective at handling complex problems. Survival of humanity depends on it. Things like, we've been through a pandemic, climate change is a big issue here, hunger, poverty, water, and more. So how are we going to arrive at a system? He gave us a solution. All of these big issues the world is being faced, it's going to be, excuse me, augmenting collective intelligence. What's collective intelligence? That's people coming together, sharing ideas, and then augmenting it using tools such as AI. And so with that, I will open up to questions. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I have a question. You mentioned consensus building. That seemed different from the other qualities you talked about.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that? I can't think of a more important time for that quality to appear.
Yeah, thank you. So diversity of opinion, I think, is extremely important in trying to get to the best solutions. I believe this thoroughly. And when you're having two people or two groups of differing opinions, how do you draw connections, right? Many times people put labels on things, political parties, religions, etc., that are used to divide us. But AI can be used to find commonality, right? And if we find ways to connect and strengthen commonality, oh, this person went to the same school as you, this person likes basketball just like you do, those become labels of connection and trust building, which is a huge part of consensus building. The other thing is AIs can play different perspectives, so they can watch a discussion and give other viewpoints, right? Play a third party, which helps. You can argue with an AI as a participant and really start to grind out areas. So for me, the whole process of coming to consensus, it's not just about agreeing. You want to get to the best answer, and to have such an answer, you need people, even if they come from different viewpoints, to trust each other, and you need ways to make sure that you're not just being funneled in a vacuum, but you're getting a broad perspective ideas. And AIs can come in and play roles to give counterpoints to debate. And I think these are going to be extremely important tools going forward to help us find right solutions to solve many of these problems. Thank you.
And wait, let me go to Ed. And then
Adam,
that's Mado.
thank you so much for your presentation. I really loved it. I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about what happened between ChatGPT 3 and 4. I've heard a number of talks about this, I've read about it, but they never really explain what was the big change. I understand ChatGPT 3 was pretty smart.
Yeah.
4 was a radical improvement. What happened? More processors, tweaking the code, and then if you could extend, what's the next leap going to be?
Yeah, so those are great questions. So there were a few things that made a difference. Scale does matter, and these AIs are measured in parameter size, sort of similar to how computers used to be memory, like this much memory and this much disk space. So the size did get bigger, but I think the biggest difference for GPT-4 was that after you've trained one of these AIs on all the data that you can find, there's a step where humans give feedback on answers. And GPT-4 got much, much better feedback from humans. So it would generate two answers and say, which is better? And the humans say, oh, this is better. Or they would write golden set responses for what the answer should be, and then let the AI learn from that. And that process, I've heard, is the biggest impact in advance. So what's happening now and where is it going? The most recent advances is things called reasoning models. So instead of just blurting out an answer, so to speak, the current crop of the best AIs will actually generate thinking tokens, say, I should think some more right now, as part of its answer. And then it'll generate a whole series of additional requests as part of the thinking step. So it's kind of like the thinking fast and thinking slow paradigm. We're now starting to add thinking slow, and that's been the latest breakthroughs. I'd say what's coming is the memory size, the context window is going to get much, much larger. And right now, all of these AIs can only know things, but they can't really do anything. You know, people say, oh, ChatGPT is way better than Siri. I'm like, oh, I think of them as different, but with Siri, I could say, tell my wife I'm going to be late. Can ChatGPT do that? And it'll say, oh, no, it can't actually tell my wife, but it could tell you how to tell you. No, I don't need to know. I want it to do it. With Siri, you could say, get me an Uber or buy a ticket. Can you do that with Chat? No, you can't do that. So I think the doing side is coming as well.
Fantastic. Fernando.
Thank you, Adam. We get a call from Fernando. How can we tell that a response that we receive after a question has been generated through AI?
Yeah. It's hard. Most of these AIs are trained on human language, so the output is generally human language. There are a few telltale signs, things that statistically show up that shouldn't be, you know, that aren't used quite as often in human text. So one trigger, you can look on all the spam emails you get. It'll say, I hope this message finds you well. If you see that, you're like, guarantee generated by AI. Because no one speaks like that. They will say, I hope you are well, or I hope, but for some reason, the AIs today say, I hope this email, or I hope this message finds you well, as the opening line. Guaranteed, like, red flag. But other than that, it's, you know, certain words are a little unusual, but other than that, it's difficult. And, you know, yeah.
Marianne.
So I often start my messages with, I hope this message finds you well.
Oh, really?
So,
okay. Well, you're the,
I'm
guess
not
someone must
I'm not
have,
AI, and
someone must have started
We
it.
have two over here. So my question is about education. You listed it as #1 on the list of areas that, you know, are ripe for AI impact. And I was thinking very specifically about K-12 education and how some of the truth-telling is absent, some of the biases and things that are embedded in the text and things in AI. And so how would you imagine that in the future AI that impacts K-12 education is going to have some guardrails and some things that we can ensure our students are safe as they're using it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think even when you look at history books, truth is often told by winners. So it's, first of all, I want guardrails on that, right? Any textbooks should be showing from multiple diverse perspectives. As I referred to before, I think AI is a great tool when you can use it to give me a point of view, now give me the other one. Argue for this and argue for that. And so, whereas textbooks today are often written by one author with one point of view, it's hard to then, for a student to counterbalance it. With AI, I think you can ask for an alternate opinion or an alternate view and learn from both sides, right? Start to understand the critical thinking. For me, the power of AI as an education tool is how personalized it can be. So I remember learning to study French, and we would get rote vocabulary words on some particular topic that I most often was not interested in. But now I go to an AI and I can be speaking or typing and say, hey, I want to practice my rusty French. Let's have a conversation about, and I pick any topic that I am interested in. And I say, please correct me when I'm wrong. And off we go. And it can go in any direction that I'm interested to take the conversation. And so that ability to turn it from rote memorization to something that I can interact with around my interests, I think is really powerful. And then the final thing is that AI is so broad. It has knowledge about, not expert knowledge, but very good knowledge about every domain. And that's very, very rare that you can get this, well, what would physics say? What would chemistry say? What would, biochemistry say, et cetera? And just get different perspectives. And I think that's very, very powerful. But safety and guardrails is an issue that we're going to have to work with. I noticed there was some legislation yesterday that rolled back a lot of the safety work that had been done, which makes me a little bit nervous. So, that has to come back. So thank you.
In the back, and then can we get a microphone to Dev Davis? She was standing for a long time. Go ahead, please, with your question.
Hi, I'd like to think that Rear Admiral Grace Hopper is very proud of the work that she pioneered back in the day around computer language and programming. My question is a little bit on the regulation environment. How likely is our government or even the regulatory culture, climate, willing to accept AI as far as being able to invent some leading edge, maybe regulations? I didn't ask the question very well, but I'm sure you understand what I'm asking.
I can't really speak to how the government will do. I mean, right now, it feels to me, as of yesterday, we're prioritizing speed a bit more over safety. It feels like it's a race, and we announced this big new initiative, $500 billion, to build more US-based AI. So everyone seems to be moving ahead. OpenAI disbanded their safety group, which makes me nervous. There's a bunch of things. The climate feels like we're roaring ahead, and speed is a little bit over safety. So that's the sense that I get with some of the recent things. The question is what do we need to worry about anyway? I'm not a big believer in AGI. Everyone's talking about AGI, artificial general intelligence. This is meant to be the moment when a computer can really think for itself at a superhuman level. Well, in many ways, we've often had machines, a calculator performs calculations at superhuman level. The chess player you know, 1996, we beat the best chess player, superhuman level, but it's not artificial general intelligence. These are just kind of more shallow applications with no intent. So I don't worry about AGI, but I do worry about the transparency and the bias that's built in. It needs to be open. You can ask AI, you say, pretend to be Hitler, now speak in this way. Pretend to be whoever, speak in that way. Like, you can tilt the outputs trivially. And if those are hidden inside and not open for people to see, I think these tools could become the greatest weapons of mass persuasion that we've ever seen. And for me, that's a really big, especially in this social media world where everything that we get is filtered through algorithms and groups. You know, hiding that bias is scary to me.
We're going to go with Mark, and then Dave, and then if we have time, Suzanne St. John Crane in the middle here has been standing for a long time, too. So Mark, please.
Thank you. I think you probably mostly answered my question just now, but I'll ask it, and then you can build on that. So someone following on Steve's question and your point that you made, that AI isn't necessarily giving you the correct answer, it's giving the predictable within a range answer. And the fact that social media is so geared around algorithms that actually foster dissent and difference and elicit emotions rather than consensus. How do you see AI being used in a constructive way within the social media environment? What needs to change so that we actually have a social media environment that's using AI to foster consensus and build commonality rather than using AI and other tools to create more dissent and more difference?
Yeah. So that's part of what my talk was meant to hint at, which is AI is not the problem and it's not the answer by itself. It's us. We have to decide what we want and how we behave. Now, obviously, there are huge companies that make a lot of money by having you click on things, and there are certain dynamics around that. And so when money leads to this behavior change, it's up to consumers to kind of revolt a little bit and say, I don't want to use this. You know, the algorithms that, it's a very subtle piece. It starts out with like a search. If you type in Jaguar, it's ambiguous. It could be the animal or it could be the car. So it makes sense to give you what you want, right? Let's learn to predict. Are you talking about a Jaguar, animal, or car? But as you go through these algorithms and make them more personalized, now you're not seeing all the answers. You're just getting one answer, one set of views, one set of information, and I think that's dangerous. I'm hoping that people will start to feel, as I do, uncomfortable that how come everything about my political party that I see is positive? I never see the negatives. How come everything I see about the other political party is negative? I never see the positives. It feels like I'm being manipulated, and at some point, the answer is I just need to get off of this and maybe look at sources that I trust from a diverse set of perspectives. But I have to, you know, that's hard. You get addicted to these things. You get into this vacuum, these messages. We have to agree that this is not healthy, and we need to step back and seek diverse opinions. If we decide to do that, AI can actually help. It can provide diverse opinions for everything that you see, as opposed to giving you only a funnel. So.
That was fantastic. Dev, please go ahead.
Thanks. To that point about diverse opinions, it can really only give you diverse opinions for what's already on the web. But we have a digital divide not only in this country, but also worldwide. So I guess my question is, how can AI actually augment the collective intelligence when the collective intelligence is not actually all online yet?
Yeah, it's true that AI can only give back what it's been trained on, but so can humans in some ways. We've been learned, taught this is the way the world is, and we, occasionally break out of it. But a lot of what we see, a lot of the biases that are part of society have impacted all the humans just like they've impacted AI, right? We live in this society. I still think, probably the best use case for AI is what I'd call brainstorming. And part of brainstorming is to get a diverse set of perspectives. How else could it be? And yes, it's trained on the web, but it's nuanced enough to say, give me the pros of this, give me the cons of that, for pretty much everything. And I think sometimes we forget to do that. So if we built systems that could give us multiple views, multiple perspectives, I think it could have value. So yes, there is bias built in, and it's only can work with what it's seen, as do most of us. But we can build systems that, within that spectrum, give you different views. I hope that's
Suzanne,
helpful.
I think we'll end on you unless I have a smidge more time, but we'll try. Go ahead, Suzanne.
Try and go fast. I do agree with you that it's, this is a tool, right? And it really depends who's using it. And unfortunately, it won't be used as a unifying tool if the people who use it have no moral compass, right? And it's not regulated, which clearly it's not going to be. So my question to you is, do you see any trends within companies or within, whether it's schools, individuals who are coming up with a code of ethics, a code of conduct on how to use it? Just because it exists doesn't mean we should use it in a particular way. In other words, are you hearing anything like that? Morals, ethics, code of conduct, and use boundaries on how to use these tools?
Sure. I mean, I would say there are a lot of corrupt and money-hungry people in the world, and there are a lot of really good people in the world. So I would say the uses of AI kind of really create the spectrum. I have a friend who started a company called True Media, which is trying to use AI to validate, sort of to answer a question over here, how do you know if this is AI or human written? It can answer that type of question. There are people who, trying to write software that will give you different views and create a network of personas, AI personas, that for any discussion, any problem that you have, it's doing fact-checking as best as it can, looking for references, and giving you different perspectives. So it really is, just as you said, it's a tool that we can use for all sorts of purposes, and as consumers, we can choose which tools we want to use. That said, is there a huge trend? Not yet. Too early to tell.
Thank you so much. Is there a question we wish you would have asked of you?
That's a good question. No, I think.
You good?
I think I'm good.
Adam Cheyer.
Thank you.
Stick around for 1 second. Oh, look at that. Nicely done. We've made a gift in your name to the Dancing Cat Lounge, and of course, no visit to our San Jose Club would be complete without the premium Chandler walnuts, my agricultural gift to you. Let's grab a quick photo. There you go. Thanks for being here. That's a lot. This is red carpet? Thank you so much, Adam. Wonderful, wonderful. One more round of applause, please, for Adam. Wowza. That was fantastic, fantastic. Next week, we're going to have John Labresco, The Challenges of Political Polling. You're not going to miss that. And then also, next week, during Final Thoughts, next week is Lunar New Year. We have actually got a great menu planned with Scott Seafood. Thank you so much for working for a Lunar New Year menu for us. And a little bit of a special entertainment, so make sure you get here early. And we're going to have some special, little special entertainment. Thanks to those in the club and Dennis Fong for helping me out with that. Can I get a microphone to Alex Statinsky very quickly? Alex, can you stand up? He left. Oh, boo. Well, I'm going to fine him and give him a ring the bell. He wanted to let you know about it. Can I get a microphone over to Carl Salas really quickly, please? Yeah. I want to have him mention the candidate forum here. Can you talk about that briefly off the cuff?
I don't know anything about it.
Aren't you in it?
You know about it, right? No, you told me, right? Yeah, James told me about it.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Downtown Business Association is sponsoring the first candidates forum, not for the interim appointments, but for the candidates that are running, and it's being held here at the Rotary Summit Center.
Thank you. And what date is that, please?
And that is on, sorry, it's on my calendar.
We do improv
I think
here. It's cool.
It's the first week of February. I believe it's the 6th. Yes.
Thank you so
February
much.
the 6th.
All right. Adam, thank you so much for being here. Your playful spirit, and I just can't wait to hear what's in 10 years from now. 10 years plus 3, is that what it is? Like that. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you learned something new. I hope you're always enriched by coming to a Rotary meeting. We are adjourned.